I guess the first thing I was going to talk about was Civil War. That great movie that had such hype. We all had high hopes for it for being something kind of interesting because it's Alex Garland, man. You know, he can make some good stuff. And he made Annihilation. Not so much.
Man.
Yeah, but what a nothing burger that movie turned out to be, man. It was just complete disappointment. I mean, it wasn't political, but it also wasn't particularly entertaining. So, yeah, I don't know really what to take from that film. It was a bit of a strange one. All I got from it was that
it got me in the cinema because I hadn't been to the cinema for quite a while, and I thought this looks like it's got big action in it. I want to see it on the biggest, best screen possible. So I went to Leicester Square, IMAX, and I wasn't disappointed by the action, but the story and the characters, meh, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Why was the president evil?
Because
he was.
He disbanded the FBI. I was like, he sounds good.
I know, yeah. keep going with this sort of thing. You're doing fine. I guess it's because he's a third-term president. You're not meant to do that. But then the explanation is really vague because it's like, well, is he only on his third term, like because there's a civil war going on, and it's not like we can hold elections while there's a war happening? I don't know.
He did fascism at some point. That's all we know. He's a fascist.
It's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, because presidents could just go, I'm going to do a third term, and that people let it happen here.
Didn't you do the Antifa massacre that gets referenced in this?
Yes.
A load of people get killed or something.
Some more potential good news. Let's just point that out. But I would say
massacring them, or were they getting massacred by Antifa?
That's the question.
Again, it's nice and vague, isn't it? So it's like everything in this movie.
It's vague about everything. Absolutely. Like, how does the country still run? How does the internet still go? How is there not cut supply lines in a country that's just carved up? Where does New York get its power? Why aren't they attacking that? I mean, we don't need to answer any of these questions.
Even the insurrectionists wouldn't want to capture New York at this point. It's just like, nah, just leave it.
Just leave.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about it is as well, like, the main point that the film seemed to be trying to make is that journalists are fantastic people and we should respect them. And I thought, of all the implausibilities in this movie, like America collapsing in civil war, Texas and California teaming up to fight the White House, the idea that journalists are fine, upstanding people that we should respect, like that's the most hilarious thing.
Well, also that they're going to be in the unit that goes into the insertion in the White House on the front line, during the battles in the corridors. A bit unlikely, I think. That's hilarious. Yeah, come in with us. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Come in with us.
Like literally getting in the way of the soldiers, and they're having to dodge around this stupid bimbo who's like flashing away with her camera. Like, what the fuck is this nonsense? You wouldn't get within 10 miles of that place, especially the White House of all places. Ain't no way you're getting in there.
They should have been on TikTok. They go, "What is up, guys? I'm in the White House."
There was no video journalism. it was like still photography, and it was just weird. And if
the president's live streaming, going, "What is up? I'm under siege. What's going on?"
Like and subscribe.
I'm doing the 24-hour White House challenge. See if I can stay alive by the end.
Yeah.
Also, it's like the fact that he's hunkered down in the Oval Office. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, but isn't there like a bunker in the White House that the president?
There's gotta be.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it. It's in the film War Games. It's definitely there. So and White House Down. It's in White House Down.
I like that description as well.
More believable films than this one, by the way. Just want to point out.
Yeah. Well, maybe he goes, "I can't go in there. That's where all the kids are." That got serious. I wasn't expecting such a tame reaction. I might get assassinated now.
Nah. Well, one could argue like we have a third-term president now, so that could already happened.
Who knows?
You're not getting that. Well, our real president went and visited your prime minister the other day, Obama. So,
okay. Sorry, we're not Americans, so we know absolutely nothing about what you're talking about.
I have to explain it. Obama is got the puppet strings on the corpse Biden. That's basically what's going on.
Okay.
I literally forgot who the prime minister was.
I did too. He showed up in the Clarkson's farm trailer It's the only reason I recognize them.
I mean, it'll probably change by this time next week. Like,
yes.
I think the most hilarious one was Liz Truss, who was prime minister for about 15 minutes. It was incredible.
34 days or something.
Yeah, they had the Liz Truss lettuce that outlasted her. It was just brilliant gambit on the behalf of the newspapers. But yeah, with this movie, man, it was such a strange one because it was so determined not to offend anyone and not to make any political statements one way or the other that it ended up just doing nothing. It felt like just a series of disjointed scenes, but not entertaining ones particularly. I mean, yeah, everyone references the Jesse Plemons one because that was cool because he's a really good sinister actor. But like, they blew their load with that one with the trailer.
Yeah, I wish they hadn't included that in the trailer. Actually, it would have had a lot more power.
To be honest, dude, I would have liked the whole film following that guy. Let's see how
going around murdering people.
Well,
let's get a spin-off movie.
I was gonna say, if we're gonna be even slightly serious, like how does a man become that, you know, and what is his belief system in this whole situation, and can you do it in a way that's actually, like, you know, interesting instead of just one-sided or boring?
Yeah, because I
was drawn to him just because he's easily the best performance in the whole film, and it's like the one time in the film where I was like, what? Oh, okay. Huh.
Well, it felt honest. It felt very real. Like, this guy is acting like a real person, you know, like a psychotic person, but you feel like he's got that rage inside him, and he's got that bloodlust almost, and he's just looking for an excuse to pull the trigger on people. And yeah, I guess it's just an example that the film was trying to make of, like, in the chaos of a war like this, where there's no police and there's no real oversight on anything, people are just indulging like their basest desires. Like, his desire is just to go around killing anyone that he sees as non-American, and there's no one there to stop him because it's chaos. It's a civil war. And you saw the same thing at the gas station where they stopped to refuel, and they've just got guys hanging in the car wash around the corner, and they're just waiting to execute them because who's going to stop them? That's if that's the one thing I suppose that the movie gets across, is just the film, or sorry, the situation that they're in just allows people to become the worst version of themselves.
Do you think they got too heavy on the violence straight away? Like, you should have built up to it as you get closer to the front lines. Like, stores get robbed. It should have been a bit more, less like, because she immediately sees two guys hanging. That's like the first stop.
I think the violence does get more extreme in the sense that you encounter more soldiers, you encounter more organized fighting, more destruction. Like, it's although it's shocking what you see, it's just low level, like, petty, you know, my neighbor fucking pissed me off, or like, these guys tried to rob the store, so I'm going to kill them stuff. Like, very behind the line stuff. Whereas as they get closer to the front line, that's when you start to see more uniforms, more helicopters, like more armored vehicles, and then you get to the full-on frontline confrontation in DC. Yeah.
How did you guys find the music in the film? Because you got these really very abrupt songs that come on, and there's the scene where the guys are getting executed. I mean, I kind of liked the strange juxtaposition between the song choices and what you were seeing on the screen. It made it very surreal, but at the same time, on some scenes, it kind of took me out of it. Just wondered what you...
Yeah, it was really disjointed. Like, when they first take off and they play Suicide, that was pretty good. Yeah, that kind of set the mood. Like, okay, we're starting our odyssey, and we're gonna see just absolute horror. And then then they started playing like happy music. A lot more freaking jokes in it than I thought there'd be, and there's just scenarios. I think, like Jeremy Johns was right. He called it, they were put into a set of scenarios, and some of the music didn't match it at all. And honestly, I didn't think we saw that much horror. I was expecting way more, and it doesn't have to be overt violence. It could just be cruelty. And I get you don't want to explain everything, but damn, man, he went crazy on that. Like, that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous. But
it got to the point where you've got these two factions fighting, but like, I don't know what either one represents. I don't know which one's considered good, what they are fighting for. It's just people killing each other. And so I'm not invested in it necessarily because I don't care who wins. There's no reason to care about any of it. And that could work, I suppose, if it's just a backdrop. But the point I made when I did my review is that you need to then have a really strong central cast of characters, people that you really care about or that you're really interested in, and you're invested in their journey and their safety.
Yeah, we didn't know enough about those guys to care about. Like when the older guy got shot, if he just had one scene where he called his wife at home, maybe early on in the movie, so we knew he had some personal stakes outside of his job, I think you would have felt his, like a call to his grandkids or something, because he knew he was going somewhere dangerous. That just
I just took from that stuff. I just took that they're all monsters because they don't even try to like stop his bleeding or anything. They just carry on driving, and then they're like, "Oh, he's dead." When we get to the military base,
you got some pretty sparks before he died. Aren't we great? It's like you don't have a med kit. That's what everybody was saying. I was like, "Where's the med kit? You would have that."
Yeah. Or at least try.
And then the press, and I know some press gets to go freely in other countries, but like a civil war here, and the press can just move freely. By the way, the press from the loyalist states, that's where they're from. They were from Reuters, so they're corporate press from the loyalist states. Which, if you want, by the way, you had to go online to find a map to like what the fuck is going on. So the interior states were loyalist. Northern Pacific was the New People's Army, and then there was California and Texas were independent, and then there's the Florida Alliance, which was pretty much all the southern states except for the Carolinas. And the only people fighting are California and Texas allied against the interior states. The other factions are not allied, and they don't care. They're fighting. Florida Alliance is trying to get the Carolinas, and I don't know what the hell the New People's Armies. I would like somebody to explain to me how Portland conquered the Northwest, Portland and Seattle, because the rest of the Northwest is not like Portland and Seattle. So you would have a really hard time taking on like Idaho, who would not be down with you at all. There's a lot of people, but there's also a lot of space.
There you go. There's the Antifa massacre, Gary. Like they just killed everyone in their path.
And I know there's like little groups. What did they say? There's like the Portland Maoists. There's the Portland Maoists.
God, if you go on the Wikipedia page, there's actually a map of America broken up by the various different groups in the film. You can see
I had to go to that for my review because they didn't explain it in the movie. So
it was the idea as well that they thought
Gary.
They were going to drive to Washington D.C. through a war zone. Oh yeah, there we go. There's our map of the various alliances.
That's it.
So they were going to drive from New York to Washington, D.C., which isn't all that far, but like you've got to drive through a war zone to get there.
So what they did, I don't know if you caught it, they couldn't make a straight run because it's only 200 miles.
They went by Pittsburgh, didn't they?
They had to go around through Pennsylvania, and it turned into 1,000 miles. Because that's what I was like, wait a minute. They're going from New York to Washington. They said it's 987 miles. Wait, that's not right. But then I caught it later that they said there's no straight shot because apparently some of the interior states were vaporized.
Right. Okay.
Well, like literally like nuclear strikes or something.
Maybe, but then you wouldn't like if a nuclear bomb went off in between New York and DC, none of that. You would not. Yeah, there'd be fallout. Everybody would be dying. So I don't know what kind of vaporized. Maybe it's just artillery or something.
Yeah, and you'd have to go some to authorize a nuclear strike on American soil against other Americans. Like that's the next level right there. But yeah, the point I was going to make there is like they don't have any kind of authorization to do this. Like it's not like the president has agreed to give an interview because that's what they intend to do. They
that
drive to DC through a war zone, through the front lines, go and talk to the president and do an interview with him. Why on earth would he do that? I'm sure he's got bigger things to deal with, and he's not going to be interested in letting a bunch of journalists into the White House to have a chat with them.
Well,
but they just go anyway.
Well, you could do it like a Tucker Carlson kind of thing where their side are trying to stop them, and he goes, I'll tell you what I think, but everyone on the other side goes, no, you can't speak to him, you can't listen to him, and they could just make the journey themselves.
Easily.
You could have like an interesting idea.
Yep.
Your own side is trying to stop you from hearing the enemy.
Totally. I could not agree. All one little line would have fixed that, Reaper. They would have said, hey, we contacted the press secretary and we got an exclusive. But we got to hurry. Like that would have fixed it.
Yeah, that would have upped the stakes.
They just shoot them. They just execute them.
Well, yeah, and they do it on camera as well. And correct me if I'm wrong, but wouldn't that be considered a war crime? And like you would absolutely have to answer for that with the UN or God.
You would also make him a martyr, like overnight.
They had standing orders, they said, from command to kill him and not take him alive. There's a line about that. It's very quick in the film.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess the individual soldiers don't matter so much, but more like the command who gave them those orders. Do they have the authority to order the president of the United States to be killed?
And how are the leaders? How are the leaders of the other factions going to look at that? It's like, oh, they just went in and freaking killed him. Oh shit! Well, we can't ally with these assholes.
I think Alex Garland wanted to make a deliberate parallel with that ending between the execution of Pablo Escobar and the photo that was taken of everybody around his body when he was killed. And again, it was a mixture of journalists and so on. And
that's a weird, but that's, and that makes sense. And I wish they would have done more of that. But that's Pablo Escobar compared to a president. You know, maybe find a famous leader. I mean, like you could have done Mussolini. Gaddafi. That would have been a little hardcore. Gaddafi. Exactly. So I think I talked about it on Friday Night Tights. You know, the Grand Theft Auto 6, 7, whatever the hell it is trailer, where they just redid all the memes, you know, all viral videos and stuff. If Alex Garland like had the journalists go through and they reinterpreted famous iconic imagery from other civil wars or wars overseas here in America to give us impact, like here's what it's like, you know, and then if it's in your backyard, I think that would have been interesting, real interesting. But he didn't go that route at all.
Well, it'd be interesting to see as well, like how does the rest of the world feel about this? Because America is like essentially the preeminent superpower of the planet, and if they're too busy fighting amongst themselves, well, what's been the result in the rest of the world? Has like Russia made a move on Eastern Europe? You know, has China made a move on Taiwan? Like all this stuff is probably going on, but we don't know because the movie doesn't tell us anything.
Canadian money's worth more.
Yeah, that was
somehow
funny. Canadian dollars.
I was like, what?